Welcome back, Hobo Johnson fans, to an epic new Hobo Johnson video where I talk about the revenge of Hobo Johnson. Anthony Fartface himself gave the new Hobo Johnson album a brutal, not good. And my question that I would like to ask today on this channel is the revenge of Hobo Johnson not good? The album opens on an extremely weird note where the listener and Hobo Johnson himself are taken straight to hell, and where Hobo Johnson proceeds to describe himself having a romantic encounter with Satan. And it's not a bad track. I'm not gonna lie, I like the song. Like, I mean, one, it's got a lot of personality, creativity, comedy, which isn't that funny, but the real reason I like the song is because the music slaps, bro. The hook is great, and like, it's especially good compared to the other albums on the track list, because musically this project gets a little bit boring. It doesn't have much of an edge to it. It's pretty dull instrumentally. It's a lot of acoustic guitar. Just a lot of acoustic guitar, and it's not very interesting. And this album spices it up. It kind of sounds like an American Author song, but like the most whacked out, bizarre, weird American Author song you've ever heard. But I like this track. And the next track on the album, I Want to See the World. Fantano hated this song, and rightfully so. It's a terrible song. It is garbage. This is like probably easily the worst song Hobo Johnson has ever made, and I'm sure if you've heard Hobo Johnson, you might have some strong opinions on some of his songs that you dislike, but I mean, he's a very polarizing artist. This song is terrible. The vocals on this song are awful, the lyrics are bad, the music isn't very good, and really just the vocals. I don't understand what he's doing with his voice, but it sounds whiny and annoying, and it's terrible. I Want You Back is fine. I really don't have any strong opinions on this. Musically, there's a little bit of something going on, like a tiny little piece of something original and unique, something a little bit interesting, and it's that one little sound, and it's repeated throughout the song, and the song is fine. It's fine. The next track on the album is My Therapist, which is kind of funny, but it's also a very bitter song that is really just Hobo Johnson kind of venting on different social topics, but the most important of which is him talking about his soap business that he wants to start. Remember the soap. Remember the soap. It comes into play later on the album. Don't forget the soap. Jordan's House and Prequel to Animal Farm are boring. They're boring. Jordan's House is a little bit, it's kind of like My Therapist, where like I can get comedy out of this, where it's kind of, and you know, one thing I can say about this album is it actually does feel like an album. There is some things that link all of the tracks together, whether it be similar song titles or, you know, similar music and kind of a narrative flow. So like, he doesn't really like his therapist. He feels like his therapist isn't being genuine and only is there and only listens to him because he's getting paid. And then to kind of relax and unwind, he goes to Jordan's house, and Hobo Johnson just comes across as this really annoying friend who's like invites himself over, and you can like, he describes the look of surprise on Jordan's face when he shows up at Jordan's house, and he's kind of obsessed with Jordan's house, and where it's just, you know, a place to go and be comfortable and relax and unwind. But still, it's a funny song in that way. And Prequel to Animal Farm, it's just Hobo Johnson says a line, and then he has like a choir, which is like his voice manipulated or whatever, and a couple other voices that just repeats what he says, just you know, like culty, like I say a word, and they're just repeating exactly, but with slightly different music. And it's the longest song in the album, and it's really unnecessarily long. It's just kind of boring. I can actually get behind the sentiment of the song You Want a Baby. It's a very sad song, honestly. And Hobo Johnson, I think, is very effective, or can be very effective at inserting like really strong emotion into his music. He did it very well on his first two albums. But this song, I can understand what he's saying about not wanting to have children. One, because he doesn't like his genes. He's like, I don't he like, you know, if he hates his own skin and he hates him the way he looks and he hates himself, he doesn't want to give those pains and problems that his own physical appearance, you know, to his kids, which is just a sad sentiment. And then the other thing, which is just like the world is so terrible, and you know, I can get behind, I can understand why he's saying these things. As an incel who doesn't have a girlfriend, who also doesn't want to have kids when I get older. Not the same reasons as Hobo Johnson, but I can see where Hobo Johnson's coming from on this song. You know, it's not a terrible song. You Need Help is extremely forgettable. It's not overtly terrible, it's just forgettable, and the music is blah. And then you have the song 9, in parentheses, Government's Not Great, which is legitimately hilarious. I laugh out loud every single time. It's like hearing Sincerely Me from the Dear Evan Hansen soundtrack. Like, when he screams, and this comes back, like I said, when he screams about the soap, like, it's just like this little seed is planted. This little comedy seed is planted in My Therapist, which you don't really think much about. Like, it catches your attention when you're listening to the song, because it's easily the most interesting thing about that song, is the stuff he says about the soap. And then when he just screams, "Buy my soap!" you're just like, it's funny. It's funny. And then, like, the stuff about Tyler Joseph, the stuff about 21 Pilots, of you have to rip out your competitor's eyes, and then he's screaming about ripping out Tyler Joseph's eyes. For some reason, that, to me, comedically works. Like, it's so out there and ridiculous that it's actually funny. And I also really like how musically it's the exact opposite of everything else on the track list. Like, this legitimately is a good song, in my opinion. Especially compared to the album. Maybe not a good song on any other album, but on this album full of just really boring songs, this is a good song. The outro is not a song. It's one of those non-songs. It's a non-song type of thing with, you know, a spoken passage, like a kind of a sort of robotic voice. It kind of sounds like the voice that Logic uses in some of his albums to do like the narrative. And it's talking about Hobo Johnson. It's kind of a lot of self-deprecating humor, where it says the next Hobo Johnson album will be Hobo Johnson alienates his fan base, and has these other little bits and things that are kind of negative. It has an anti-social media message, and it is a Drake diss, and that makes me laugh. Like, Hobo Johnson's a funny dude. In my opinion, I think he's funny. And when it gets to that part of the end where it's like, now, it does, like, it teases these songs that are going to be on the next album. Like, All I See Is Poop, and that's funny. Like, and it gives you, like, a split clip, like a 2-second clip of each of these songs, and the Drake diss. And then he has this bar about Pusha T that's so funny and stupid. It's so stupid. But the outro is fine, honestly. I don't have a problem with this outro. Ultimately, the biggest problem with the Revenge of Hobo Johnson is not Hobo Johnson. It's not at all Hobo Johnson. I think he has plenty of personality and stuff. It's just that musically, he goes in a lot of uninteresting directions, which is so weird if you look back at his first album and then the fall of Hobo Johnson. His 2019 record, one of my favorite records of 2019. Musically is so adventurous and interesting and creative, and this is so boring. Like, musically, it's just this stupid acoustic guitar, and so many of the songs are just a slog to get through. But I think Hobo Johnson is interesting. I think there's some interesting ideas on this album, and I think his personality does come through on these songs, but not as strongly as his other two albums. And just musically, it's just not great. And it's less than not great, it's boring. It's really boring and not... And then, of course, I Want to See the World is the only really awful song, really terrible song. The other songs some of the songs are kind of bad, but that's the only song that really is really not good. Really, I can truly say, I Want to See the World is not good. But the rest of the album isn't garbage. It's just musically, this project is just not, it's just not it. It was a huge misfire from a musical perspective. And, yeah, it's just not a very enjoyable record overall. And it's just boring. I'm going to have to give it, you know what, I'm going to use Fantano's scale to rate this, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10, honestly. Seriously, if Hobo Johnson, literally, you could even keep the lyrical content and the ideas for these songs. You could have kept it all, except for I Want to See the World. Just scrap that song. Change the music on most. The only songs I would say keep it are Anton LaVey and song number 9. Basically everything else, just revamp the music. Just if this album just sounded different, was just a lot more creative and interesting musically, then I think it could be a really good album. Like there is a good album, because I think, once again, Hobo Johnson has a lot of personality and creativity, and I think he is pretty funny on this album at times. And I think it just could be a lot better if he just straight up just got some better production. The production on this was just lazy. The musical ideas were not there. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.